Give me 1 second. I'm going to go get my coffee. I'm coming. I'm here, I promise. I had to go on a hunt for the coffee. I could not find it anywhere. I didn't know where I set it down. I had been preparing and it was in our guest room. So cheers. I also have a friend joining me today for the live. You probably can't really see him. Let's see if you can see him. Nope. There he is. Let's see. There's his little face. This is Zeus. He's our puppy. I say puppy. He's like 7 years old now, so he's not a puppy anymore. But he's my little puppy because he acts like a puppy and he needs attention like a puppy. And I think the captain's going to be mowing the lawn in a little bit. And if that happens, then he can't handle the lawnmower. So... But happy Friday, friends. I am so excited to be here. I'm trying to make sure I've got all of my stuff together. Let's see. Give me just a second. Who is that? Calmly Crocheted. Thank you. I picked my outfit out. Have my big old bell-bottom jeans on. Those are super fun. I feel like I'm a little muted today, but I feel like this goes really nicely together. So that's always nice. And give me just a second. I thought that I was all prepped and ready today, but you guys know how it is. Let's see. Okay. I think I'm good. We also just did a power upgrade in the house, so we've got a lot more backup power, and I was really afraid because I unplugged our router and I didn't know if it was going to mess anything up for today's live. So thankfully we are good. But I am super excited to be bringing on Jess and Marjie today of Fyberring. I don't know if you guys have heard of Fyberring. If you have not, I'm excited to introduce you to these guys. But it is, if you guys have seen the yarn rings that you can buy, this is a step up from, I know you can go on Amazon. I know you can go different places and find yarn rings, but they wanted to create something really unique. And so I'm excited to bring you their story and to chat about how, and what I really love about this too, is that, I didn't really think about it this way until it was actually one of our DIY sponsors, Summer Camp Fibers, talked about that we're kind of in the manufacturing business because the stuff that we sell, we make in our house. And I feel like this is something that we have in common with Fyberring because they create the items that they sell themselves. And I think that it's really interesting, thinking about that from that perspective. So I'm going to go ahead and bring them on. Let's see, I think, and they have already put in a request to join. Thank you so much, guys. All right, so we are about to go fun. Okay, let's see. Hi. Hello. Welcome.
Thanks, Evelyn.
And this worked really well.
It's so we have a stand that's a little wobbly. Sorry. If we wiggle, it's because we're already day drinking.
Totally understandable.
Yeah.
I mean, it is just coffee, but it could be not coffee. I mean, I never drink out of a clear mug, so
Exactly.
Yes, I love it. Well, I'm so glad that you guys are here. Am I saying it right? Jess and Marjie. Is that correct? Okay. Awesome. And so we'll jump right in. So really quick, super quick intro of, if someone does not know who you guys are, if they're not following you here, who are you and what do you do?
Well, hello. I'm Marjie of Margeless Creations, inventor of the Fyberring. And I'm literally sitting here right now crocheting.
Of course.
All the time. We will go out. If we're hanging out, we'll go to a bar, we'll go wherever, a coffee shop. It's
she's got her crochet. She's just
do.
always
Yeah. And this is my best friend Jess.
I love it.
Yeah.
You became friends with me right at the start of my professional sort of journey with crochet and knitting. And so she's been a model for me when I like make something pretty. She comes over and she models because she's so pretty.
So helpful.
Yeah. And then in December, at the end of December, we had a customer's video go viral.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
And we had like $3,000 in sales on our Etsy shop in the last week of November because of the video going viral, which was great. And Jess was like, "That's it, Margie."
Yeah. She'd been making the rings for a number of years and just selling them, you know, on Etsy and whatnot. And like years ago, I know you had been talking about patenting them. And then I said, you got to patent it. Somebody's going to take your design, right? Like you can probably make these out of plastic. Like ours are made out of resin, so they're a totally different product. Yeah. But I said, someone's going to take it, go to China and manufacture them, like mass manufacture them for 5 cents, right? So like you have to protect your property. And now that it's being seen by millions of people, you have to protect it. And so we started with investing some of our own personal funds into the business startup. Thankfully, I had a little bit, and I said to my husband, "Is like, I don't care what we have to put any excess we have." Sorry, this is Willie.
This is Willie. He's my puppy.
I said, whatever we have to spare, we have to do this with Marge because the long-term payout would just be amazing. And Marge has been going on her own for so many years, and I just didn't really have the opportunity to help her, and now I did. So I said, okay, we got to do it. We got to just make this official. Let's incorporate. Let's just get this started. Yeah. So that's kind of all took place in December, and she's like, yeah, if you're gonna help me, let's do it. That would be amazing. Yeah. So so this is your full-time work.
Yes, it is. Right? It has been my full-time work since December.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So yeah, so Marge is really the hands-on. She does all of our manufacturing, as you were saying a little bit earlier. She makes them all, and so she should because she's been doing it for years and she knows how to make these rings just absolutely beautiful. And I work the business part-time because I do have a full-time business of my own. I'm also a designer.
She's an interior
designer, so I also do that. That's my day job.
She designed our bathroom and she redesigned our kitchen. So we're in the middle of our kitchen renovation right now.
So I love business. This is not the first business I've helped start up. Probably this would be the 4th corporation that I've helped start up. So I kind of know the reins on how to do this, just small businesses in Canada. So I thought, okay, I have to help with this at least as much as I can. So I don't put in as much time as I really think that we need to right now, but I'm trying. Marge is very patient with me, being like, hey, when's this going to happen? Like, I will do it after my client meeting. So it's really great. And Marge and I promised each other from the start that our friendship always comes first. Yeah. If it means that our business takes a side seat, our friendship has to come first. That cannot be jeopardized. No. And that's really, really hard to do. Partnerships are not always successful. I've been in a past one that went south very quickly. So I was hesitant, but I was like, this is Marge. She was my best woman at my wedding, and like we have to just make sure that that's our priority.
She met her husband because of me.
Yes, through her and her husband. They were mutual friends of me and my husband, and I have my life because of Marge. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
So, a big question: do you crochet?
Nope.
I attempted to teach her once many years ago.
I can make a string.
She can make a string. But I did make her a ring so she can have it.
Yeah, I do have my own custom Margie designed ring just for me. Yeah. And I wear it on my pinky. It kind of is more like a fashion ring for me. And then when I get to talk to people, they're like, oh, what's that? Because it's a weird shape, right? So so like my side business that I'm working, blah, blah, blah. And then I tell them about it. So I've got a lot of like, oh, that's really cool, just in basic conversations from day to day. It's part of how I advertise and network.
Yes.
For like a business on the side. But no, I do not crochet. But I've I fully support it. I think I should learn. And I said, well, now that I have a ring, I should probably learn. But,
I agree. I think it's, you know, and even if it's not learning from Margie, because I think that's also like the friendship teaching each other things. I think it's the same thing with any relationship. Like sometimes I know for me, I can't learn from my husband. Like I can, but it's painful and it takes a while. And I'm usually the one who's just not feeling it and I struggle, you know, so a lot of times I'm like, I'll just go on YouTube. And of course he's like, you're going to go on YouTube and I can teach you. And I'm like, well, I mean, that's just, you know, I don't want us to, you know, fight about something.
Yeah,
like,
it would be embarrassing learning something like him, right? You're like, but you're so seasoned at it and I just am tying up my own fingers, you know?
Yes.
Yeah, getting my fingers twisted.
So have you tried a Fyberring?
I have not. And so, and so here's what's interesting about that. And I don't know if it has anything to do with the size of the yarn. I've never dealt with yarn burn, and I don't know if it's because I don't work with small yarn. I mean, my smallest yarn is going to be like a 5 or 6 weight style yarn. I do remember back when I was making stuff for shows, I would use a lot of the Lily Sugar and Cream cotton, and I would make these little cat-themed coffee cozies.
Oh, yeah.
And I would make so many of them. And what I would deal with was not really the burn, but the, I would tie-dye my finger. Oh. You know what I mean? So yeah. I would use a lot of their rainbow yarn, and it would leave the way that I hold, and now I'm trying to think of how I hold my yarn. But the way that I particularly held it, I would end up with green and blue marks from where the yarn was leaving dye on my hands.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm sure it would help with that, too.
It probably would. Yeah.
Yeah. And even, you know, it helps with other things, too. Not necessarily for yarn burn, but some people find it really helpful for tensioning. And Marjie, I sound like a noob because I don't know what I'm talking about, but but tensioning is a thing too. Some people just, you know, especially when you're learning, you're having trouble figuring out. I know for me, if I'm practicing and trying, it's hard to get the tension right. So every loop is a little different size. So the ring actually helps with that quite a bit. You were showing a video too of another use of it. So when you're rolling out, unrolling or rolling back up your skeins, it's good to help fly across the finger if you're kind of working with a machine or something that's pulling the thread fast. So like lots of really fun uses, and I've been excited to see how people use it because everyone put the thread somewhere different on their finger.
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah.
Yeah, we had one user that's using more than one at a time. She's putting one down here because the thread's running through her fingers and down and around, so she's using 2 at a time.
That's actually the video that went viral. She slipped a finger on this one and then slipped it on that one and turned it backwards and then started crocheting with it.
Yeah, gotcha.
But we have a couple different designs. I don't know how well you can see it. So this is standard, our regular Fyberring, and then this one's our bulky.
Gotcha.
And so it's better for larger weight yarns. I just posted a reel, I think it was yesterday, of me crocheting with 6 strands of medium weight yarn in that one.
Gotcha. That's super smart. Yeah, I mean, that's where I would be. And I'm trying to think. So I hold my yarn. Let's see if I can, when I'm not crocheting. I don't even have a project over here, do I? Let's see. I'm surrounded by finished projects, which is a good thing. I mean, I feel like that's kind of rare too. Yeah, that's even one that needs to be tied off. Okay, we're just going to do
Unless
this.
you have just deleted all your ends.
And we're going to see how I hold my yarn. I can find this one. I'm actually really excited to try this yarn too. I don't know. Premier Yarn ships to Canada, don't they? I think it is US and Canada.
I believe so. I haven't actually ordered any yet, but I know I do like their yarns.
Yeah, this is their cotton, chunky cotton. It was one of their chunky ones, and it says chunky cotton, but it's a super bulky, so it should be super chunky cotton. But this is the one I just got to try, and I hadn't tried it yet. My goal is to try all the chunky yarn, which is super fun for my wallet. But let's see. Okay. All right, so I wrap pinky and then first finger. Oh, yeah. So that's how and then I'll hold the bottom piece. Actually, there we go. Yeah. So it'll go around, but I do see why having it on that first finger, but I do hold really close to my work. So I tend to, you know, I can't figure out how to hold it out here and then do this number, you know, like holding your pinky, your first finger up. I can't tend to do that. I feel like I have to be all up in my work.
With your finger, yeah, with your pointer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So have you guys seen that with someone holding a little bit closer and still being able to benefit from wearing the ring?
I have, yeah. What other people, yeah. And it's the same thing. Like when I knit, I have to twist my ring. I have to twist my ring like this, so it's kind of sideways.
Oh, gotcha.
Because I knit continental, and so I hold my finger in a little tighter when I'm knitting, and then it just gives it that little. It's tighter to the finger, and then you can just knit with it sideways. I don't know. That's how I use it while I'm knitting. Yeah, just a slight twist.
So how do people, because I see most of, especially for this first finger, you're wearing it above the knuckle. So how do you deal with the sizing? Because I know I read a little bit about this in the GoFundMe that, you know, because you got the,
Kickstarter.
Yes, sorry, Kickstarter.
Nope.
That was part of the process is getting the sizing updated so you have standardized sizing. So how does that work with it not going all the way down? How do people measure for that?
Well, honestly, the easiest way is go to a jewelry store and have them like put their ring sizers wherever your yarn goes over your finger. So like me, I wear mine here. My mom wears hers down here because that's how she crochets. Okay. Right. So it's wherever wherever the yarn goes over your finger is where you need to measure to get it done. Okay. And you can also do it with a piece of paper and measurements. And honestly, centimeters or millimeters is way better than trying to figure out the percent with inches. Yes. So, Canadian. So,
well, you know, I still use inches. I don't know. We're not quite completely confused.
Yeah, like it's really funny because our driver's license and our weight is done in inches and pounds. Yeah. Well, it was.
No, I think it's
Did they switch?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it says like
maybe it used to be. Yes.
Yeah. Anyways. But yeah, and like when we're doing measurements in the house, like for your designing
I'm always
and stuff.
using inches and feet.
Yeah, it's done in square inches. But everything else in my life, like buying fabric, it's like by the meter. When I'm trying to buy yarn, I don't I look at the I don't look at the yardage on it. I look at the meters on it.
Gotcha. Yeah,
so
makes sense.
We're a hybrid measurement system.
Well, and I think you know, because most of the people buying from you are going to have a measuring tape with centimeters on the other side, that it shouldn't be too difficult. And I've had that when I've ordered custom jewelry. I don't think I've ever gone to a jewelry store and gotten measured. I've just worked with them on the centimeters and either the diameter across or whichever one it is, the one straight across the circle. There's the around the circle.
Yeah, Marge did post a highlight at the top of our profile that talks about sizing on how you can do it from home. Yeah. So if anybody has questions, they can go and find the little bubbles on our bio, and there's one saying sizing. So there's a little bit of a tutorial on that there.
Yeah, that's perfect. Because I was going to say, at this point, I'm sure that's one of your most asked questions, I would guess.
Yeah. And it's very hard, and it's like, because like we do a range of sizes. So like I actually wear 2 sizes when I'm crocheting and knitting. This one is a size 4 because my fingers are a little more swollen today because of my health issues. Gotcha. And then when I'm normal, I wear a 3.5. Okay. So it's just a standard US ring size. But then there's other people that they need like a size 11, or in Jess's case, if she was to use it on her finger, like up at the top, she would need a 2.5. Right. Yeah, so we have like
tiny fingers.
Yeah. So we have a huge range.
I have a big gap there right now. Yeah. So this is what, a 4.5?
I think that's a 4. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a 4. So
it fits me.
It fits on my pinky. Yeah. So if I have to do it on my knuckle, I need like much smaller.
And so
I think like a 7.5 to an 8 to get over my knuckles. I have old lady hands, and I wouldn't say, I have my grandma's hands. So like literally at this point, but they have big knuckles and like little wrinkly hands, but they're bigger. I got bigger knuckles. I got to get over the knuckle. But like you said, wearing it on the top, that's interesting because that is where my yarn usually goes. So it would obviously be smaller. So I'd have to see what that would be.
Right.
Yeah. I have had this one returning customer, and she is a 0.5. 0.5. 0.5 for the ring size. So when I'm making the rings, I have like this mandrel. So it's like I take the rings and I put them on here and make sure it's the right size, right? And so like this one's got a little clear space, so you can like literally see the number through the thing. And yeah, her ring is like at the very tip of here to the 5. Yeah. Very tiny.
That's amazing. Yeah. So I do have to ask you guys, because we work with 3D printers, and I saw it mentioned on the Kickstarter about a 3D printer. So do you guys now work with a 3D printer yourselves, or do you just work with someone who has them? What's that like?
I actually did a lot of research before I bought my 3D printer, because I was like,
and you have
I want specifically, I don't want a lot of the grooves because I'm going to be printing smaller things. So I actually got a 3D resin printer.
Okay.
I got the Anycubic 4K mono 4K.
I have to write that down to tell my husband, because I think he's out in the yard right now, and he was super interested to know, because he's the 3D printer guy. I have heard of that brand, because I think they might make one that has a really big bed, like a version, and he wants one with a really big bed.
Yeah, they have a new one that's got like a really big bed. Mine is a little smaller. Like the build plate is only about like this big.
Wow.
But I can get 12 rings on the build plate.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and so we worked with a 3D designer, and he made a very beautiful version of our Fyberrings, and that's what we're using now, compared to our old ones, because it was like
before the printer.
Yeah. So I don't think I've talked about that yet. So I came up with the idea of the Fyberring while I was crocheting another best friend's wedding dress. So I was using the very thin crochet cotton. Like the fingering weight stuff, and my finger was bleeding, and so I had to put a Band-Aid over it, and it was not fun. And I'm also a nail tech, so I used to work, in salons or at my home and doing nails, and so I was like, I've got all this stuff downstairs, and I went downstairs and I made a ring, and then people were like, you should sell it on Etsy. I'm like, okay. And so then I made molds. Every time I made a ring, I would make a mold because it was a different size, right? And then I made a big mold. And then I made another mold once I, kind of made it a little bit better. And then that's what I was using up until we got the 3D printed ones. And then so we 3D printed them, and I've made new molds. And so my molds are now perfect.
Yeah.
And the rings are perfect. So on our website, I do have the ready to ship yarn rings. And so those are our old style rings. So those are ones that I had pre-poured with the old mold, and they're not perfect. They are very imperfect, and they take a little bit more time for me working to to sand them down. And you understand sanding things down, right? Sanding it down and then polishing it so it's pretty. And so they take a little bit more time. But I still have this stock of them, and I can't just throw them out.
No,
it's like
they still work, and they're still beautiful.
Yeah, so we offer them at a little bit of a discount on our website, the ready to ship ones. So
that's awesome. Yeah. So now, and I don't want to, if there's anything that I ask that's too much about process, please feel free to not answer, because I get it. Some of this is, I say it's proprietary. But I love this fact that, so when you first started out, you were just making these molds, right? I mean, you just came up with it by yourself, and had you ever used, was it silicone molds? Did you buy a kit to make a mold?
Yeah, I did. I'd never used molds before. I had never used an actual resin before. So it was the whole learning process of mixing the resin and then figuring out.
Were you in the picture at this point? Jess, were you helping at all, or had y'all met yet?
Oh, yeah. We were friends.
Yeah.
What was this, 2015?
Yeah, it was 2015 that I made her wedding dress. So
not my wedding dress. Different friends.
Different friends' wedding dress.
Yeah. So yeah, we were friends, but I had no interest in. I'm not a crafty person, so it was very new to me, and I was like, okay, that's her thing,
Yeah. Well, so what was the timeline like? Because this is so interesting to me. The timeline from finger bleeding, going downstairs to make yourself a makeshift ring, to buying all of this stuff to just jump right in? What was that like, the timeline?
Well, honestly, when I started making the rings, my husband had lost his job, and I was going through disability, and like we were on assistance. We were literally getting our food from the food bank. And so it was literally every sale on Etsy was like food on our table.
Yeah.
So that was fantastic. And so it was like I would take a small percentage of each sale into, you know, getting another thing of silicone so I could make another mold, or getting another resin kit so I could make more rings, right? And then it got to the point where it was like kind of supporting us a little bit, right? Like I was making...
It wasn't all going back into the business.
No, it wasn't all going back into the business. It was like, you know, a portion of it. So like maybe 10 to 20% of it was going back into the business, and everything else was literally food on my table. And then my husband got a job, and I was able to, you know, put a little bit more money into the business because it wasn't needing to be on the table. And yeah, it just kind of progressed from there, like, and slowly getting new things as we saved up money for it. So it's like the resin printer, I only actually got it last September. And that was a huge learning curve of like, this is totally, yes, it's resin, but it's different.
It's totally different. And I have to give Marge props, because that takes a lot of guts to buy into a new technology. You don't necessarily know if it's going to work for you well. You don't know what your creation's going to come out like. So she invested in that. She took the risk, a calculated risk, but a risk out of her own pocket at the time, because we hadn't even started the business. Like, I think we've only been incorporated for a couple months, right? Yeah, like since January or February, we've only been incorporated, so as an official business. Other than that, it's been like her self-employed business up to that point. So and I think she has more guts than I would to try, and like, and it's quite a bit of money, right, to invest in a machine like that. You're hoping for a long-term return.
Yeah, and like I attempted at learning the designing process and did like the 3D designing stuff, and I'm like, I cannot.
That's a whole.
I cannot do that.
Yeah.
That is not something I can do. So we did have to outsource to another local person in Saskatoon who does 3D design, and he's been fantastic to work with. So.
Yeah, and I have to say, I definitely know where you're coming from with 3D design. That was one of those learning curves that my husband had to fight me on to get me to learn how to use 3D design software, because I designed our hooks. So our crochet hooks, I actually went in and designed them. But yes, exactly. But when it comes to, when I saw the design for y'all's ring, being able to create such a streamlined piece, because our hook is technically made up of basic shapes, because I used free design software to design it, and I can't use CAD. Like, I don't know how to use that like super high-end designing. And that's what that would have had to be for something that had such streamlined lines and shapes. You can't just create that ring using basic shapes. Yeah. And I think that's what was mind-blowing about that design.
Yeah, and I did try because I use a software but it's specific to interior design, which is mostly, let's be honest, it's like mostly squares. You're like, cabinets are square and rooms are square.
Yeah.
So like learning intricate curves and concave angles and stuff on my software was like not. I basically would have to relearn how to use my current software. So yeah, we tried ourselves and we ended up outsourcing it, and we're happy that we did. It was worth the investment. Because like Marge says, they're so much more uniform than being handmade and hand poured in silicone molds. They are this one's unpolished, but it'll get there. But they're absolutely beautiful. They're very smooth. Like when you're wearing them, they're just so comfortable, and
they don't get hot. They don't get hot.
They're not cold. Yeah, they're just there. They just feel like they're part of your finger. And now, especially the 3D printing, has really amplified that uniformity.
So when it comes to the process for you guys using a 3D printer, so is the 3D printer used, because I know you can't reuse molds over and over and over again, so is that the point of the 3D printer, for you guys to be able to easily recreate your molds?
Yeah, so I've 3D printed my masters, kind of like,
Yeah.
I watched a whole bunch of dice making videos.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Because and so I've made my masters and I've got them set aside. And then I do use the printer to print like some of the rings, right? So like the colors that we did for the Kickstarter, right? Like these are resin colors, right? From the resin printer.
Oh.
Because I figured making that
so
amount
you got to print those with the printer.
Yes, I printed them with the printer.
Amazing.
And then I sent a bunch out to testers before I actually was like, okay, is this something that's feasible? Is it actually a usable ring as is? And it kind of is. So, I mean, once we've got the Kickstarter rings out, we very well might put the 3D printer ones on the website for a little cheaper, but we haven't completely decided yet. Figured that out yet.
Gotcha. We're trying to balance that. How much labor does it take, and what does our profit margin need to be, and how can we streamline making them rather than hand pouring each one? Because if we want to think about growth, and this is where the business sense kind of comes in, like growth, we need to think about optimizing how to make them quickly and make them all beautiful and uniform and smooth as fast as possible, really, while still taking care on the quality, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yes. Yeah. It's so funny how much we have in common because of using that similar process. You know, we don't pour resin, but we use resin to coat all of our pieces. Yeah. You know, and so the timing that it takes, and we just invested, talking about a new investment when you don't know what's going to happen, but at some point, the growth, you have to make investments. You have to make investments for your growth. And we just bought a bamboo printer, which is a newer brand. And but it has I think it's called AMS, but it automatically changes between filament colors.
Ooh,
so you have like 4 or 5 options, and it will change automatically, which before, you know, you'd have to do all of that manually, which is why we've never done like striped hooks, because there's no way that we would have the time to go down and change out the filament every time. And so this was a big investment, and it prints a lot faster, but that's not always foolproof.
No, it's
so
not.
That means, you know, we have had a huge learning curve where it's like we thought like let's hit the ground running.
There's
and
a really
we can answer that one
here. Can you get the same beautiful color and texture with the 3D printer? So, because we just talked about how we 3D print the solid colors. So can we get the sparkly colors with a 3D printed? And the answer is
yes.
Yes.
So this is one we haven't actually released yet. I mean, I've got them. And it was a mixture of like putting in the mica pigments that we use in our pouring resins into the vat, and it was just an experiment of I'm trying to make a color literally so I could print an ocarina for my son because he wanted one. And like he did drop it recently, so it's broken, but it's like it printed. I was trying to get
a pretty color. Like it's hard to see, but it's such a subtle like.
There we go. There's a bit of the shine to it, right?
There you go.
I see. Yes.
So you can 3D print with a sparkle in there, and then you were experimenting with layering, right? So like
I was
printing a solid color. You tell. I don't know.
So I was trying to like do like going from a solid color and then slowly getting it a gradient into another color, and it kind of worked. But I mean, like you said, it's a lot of time spent going back and, like you said, changing the filament. But I really love pouring them. Like I love pouring the resin. I love mixing the pigments in to achieve like a new color. And then like I'm working on these right now. Like this one is a glow in the dark one. So
that's amazing. Yeah.
And it's purple. Sorry, it's unfinished, right? But
not polished.
Not polished yet.
And that is poured or printed?
Poured. And it glows in the dark.
That's awesome.
So that's the benefit of the poured, is that we can get like that really cool, unique color variation. Each ring is a little different, whereas the 3D printed are going to be for the ones that we want a little more uniform.
Yeah.
The silver ones are made on the 3D print, right?
No, the silver ones were poured.
The silver ones were poured. So these really sparkly silver, like our silver and gold ones, these ones are poured because just the pouring effect, like the swirling motion too just gives it a special look. So we can make sparkly ones, some sparkle type ones on a 3D printer, but it's definitely just a little different look than the unique poured one. So
that one was 3D printed.
Yeah, so this one is 3D printed, but it's just a really different look. So we can do both, but right now we're using both methods in our production. Yeah, some poured and some printed.
I really think that it's finding a balance because, you know, I know for us, our, let's see if I've got one here. Yeah, I've got two. I can show you guys. So we have what I consider our classic hooks that are the fully 3D printed, coated in resin, 2 coats of resin. The most work that we can do, and that's what I feel like that is y'all's hand poured pieces. You know, you've got these pieces, you love doing it, you don't want to do it differently because it's not just the outcome, it's the process that is still an enjoyable part. But then we also sell our, this is the same filament, but this is not coated. It's uncoated. We don't have to put resin on it. It's straight off the 3D printer, and it's a metal hook, so we're not having to print the hook portion, which is the hardest thing in the world.
And you need the supports, and then you need to break it down.
Yep. And the difference is $20 to $30 depending on the hook. So I mean, people, you know, you can offer the options, and I think that's what's great about business is you have people who, you know, and not just that, but we can't make, now this I think is a 9mm, so we do make that small, but we can't 3D print 3mm hooks.
No,
there's no way that it would be strong enough. And so that allows you to offer options that maybe you couldn't hand pour, or you couldn't do this way, or it offers the more affordable. And that is where the business mindset comes in. How can we make money? Maybe we need to make more of these while I'm pouring, and we have the two price points. I mean, it sounds like you guys, I think the more I talk to people who own businesses, I see a lot of people who are continually behind. And I think that's where you don't want to be. You don't want to be taking the funds from your sales and having to put it all back in the business to keep your business running. You want to be ahead of the game. That's right. And I feel like that's where y'all's mindset is.
Yeah, and that's kind of what the purpose of the Kickstarter was. So we did the Kickstarter, and it was successfully funded, which
for everyone.
They're amazing. It was crazy. And like taking our brainchild and putting it out there was really, really hard for me because I was like, this is going to fail. It's going to be awful.
What if we don't make those funds? What are we going to do? We've been invested all this time, and we could have been doing it somewhere else.
But it's like that lump sum of money that we got from the Kickstarter is going back in, like that's just going straight back into the business. That's paying for the patents and the legal things and the trademarking, right? So it's like
that we put in a bunch of our own money already, and then we said, okay, how do we get, like, we looked into different things like grants. This is where the business kind of part comes in.
That's where she is. That's what she is amazing at.
We asked, we consulted with a contact of mine about funding for women-owned businesses, and it's unfortunately, it's so hard to do here. There are not a lot of grants for this type of investment. Like if you're into big tech and stuff, then you could probably find money out there for people who want to invest in that. But this is such a niche market. It's a niche market, although like the crafting market is very large. Like if you look at the hashtags of like craft life or like crochet addiction and like all these hashtags, there's millions of people following these hashtags and using them. So like the craft community is very large and underrated in my opinion. Where was I going with this?
Kickstarter patents,
money,
business.
Okay, so and that's why like some people, I can understand why some people would be like, $25 Canadian for a ring, that's too much. That must be easy to make. Not really. When you, exactly. When you take in the fact that you have to buy the printer, you have to buy the equipment and the resin, it takes hours
to keep your printer running.
Right? The printer has to keep running. And then somebody just asked a little bit higher up on the questions here. I was going to answer that, that the 3D printed aren't as smooth. And that's correct. So after they come out of the printer, they have to be sanded and filed down a little bit and polished and sometimes top coated. So when you take into account all those factors and the human labor aspect, and then trying to make a little bit of a profit so that you can
pay your bills and
grow your business, that's why they're $25. when you really think about it, it's not that much when you think about what's
So I
behind
think,
it.
yeah, so I think it translates to $19 in US or something like that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And
that's we love when people are like, it's totally worth it, and they repeat buy. We so appreciate that because we can tell that people are seeing the value and that they appreciate that the handwork that goes into it and the love, because Marge is so loving when she makes each ring. She checks each one closely. They're not being mass produced, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And
So,
I mean, our hooks are almost $50.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people who say I had someone who commented and said that's unfair. And I said, it would be unfair of me to underprice our hooks because we pay all of our bills. Like, we were able to go full time and do this, as to support ourselves. And so my husband even said, when we got this new printer, he said, if we can make these hooks faster, if this printer allows us to make these hooks faster, especially the handles where we're not having to, he said, we should probably lower our prices. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he was like, well, I do want it to be fair. I do want to be able to offer options for everyone. And so I think it's a balance. It's a true balance of, if you can, offer some things for maybe a little bit more of an affordable cost, just especially to allow people to test out the item. I mean, and really see, is it worth the investment? Maybe I'll get the one that's less expensive, and if it truly helps me, I'll purchase one that's more expensive, to add to my collection because it's a true investment.
Exactly. We are collectors collecting collections. Exactly.
I mean, I don't ever think anyone, if you look at anyone, and I'm talking to everyone watching right now, please go look at your yarn stash and tell me you are not a collector.
Yes, collectors. And so awesome that you are doing your DIY hook challenge. So I actually ordered the unsanded straight off the printer because I'm like, I have the capability of finding and polishing it. But I'm super excited to get started on it. I understand why your price is so high because I get it. Yeah. But it's the same thing, right? You probably use more filament making this than I use resin making my rings. Mm-hmm. Right?
It's a lot. Well, and what's interesting too is, as you can see, the hooks print this way. That's the whole reason they've got a base. Indigo Dogs, my yarn is taking over my camper/she shed. I think we all need a camper/she shed just for our yarn.
Oh, I have 3 yarn rings and with kickstarter rings. Yes, thank you so much. Yes. And so this is my yarn wall.
Yes.
It's actually a really nice, just crates that I made. Jess actually helped me make these. You painted these ones for me.
A long time ago.
Because I'm allergic to latex. So she painted them for me. But behind it, I actually have totes behind it. Feeling, I think 3 stacks of totes of yarn back there. So I get your she shed. You have this space of need your yarn stash.
Yeah. And families of knitters and crocheters sometimes sacrifice a lot of space in the home on behalf of the craft.
Yeah,
it's true. It's true.
So I'm actually, once the kitchen is finished, which Jessica designed, we're starting my craft room. So I'm actually in the middle of the living room downstairs right now.
Awesome.
And so the room under the kitchen, we're there's going to be a huge storage space specifically for my yarn, and
a better setup
for manufacturing and everything like that.
That's awesome.
Hopefully streamlining the process a little bit more. The resin printer has already streamlined the process a lot.
Yeah. I have a question for Evelyn about your social media. So you have 90,000 followers, is that right? On your Instagram?
It's kind of mind-blowing, yes.
I know. I was like, that's amazing. So I would like to know, because that's a tool that we plan on using a lot, is social media for our business. And for me, it's been the most amazing thing in all of my businesses. It's been the best tool. So how did you grow 90,000 followers? And how long did it take?
So I will say that pre-pandemic, so right before I went to working from home, when I still had my full-time job, I was working as a social media manager for a large nonprofit in Atlanta, so that was very helpful. I already knew a lot. I got the job without having social media experience, like outside of running my own social media accounts. So luckily I had a manager that saw potential,
Right.
you know, even though I don't have a background in marketing. My undergraduate degree was in biology and psychology. Now the psychology has always been helpful, especially with social media, but I didn't have a background in marketing. But the jobs that I had out of grad school, I always worked either in universities or nonprofits. So you wore a lot of hats. So I had to learn how to market, because whatever I did, I had to market it. So that was like trial by fire. But when I started working from home, I started doing more design. I had more time. I lived in Atlanta, so the commute was like at least 2 to 3 hours of my day that I had back. So I started putting that into Pink Sheep, into the business. And I think at that point, I maybe had 3,000 to 5,000 followers. So that was 2019, 2020. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's right. It's almost 3 years, or it's been 3 years.
And I think it only took the first year or two of working from home to jump from 3 to 10. And so that was, and I'll always go back to this, it doesn't matter what the algorithm's doing, it doesn't matter what Instagram's doing, it's finding your way of being consistent. Now, whether consistency for you means posting 3 times a week, 4 times a week, 2 times a week, 5 times a week, finding the time that works for you, and whether you schedule it. There's tons of free scheduling apps. I tell people that all the time. If you can sit down at the beginning of the week or the beginning of every 2 weeks or the beginning of the month and pre-schedule your content, you can do that in a lot of different apps. I think even Canva does it now. And Facebook Business Manager. So if you have the business, you can pre-schedule through Facebook Business Manager now. So you don't even have to use a third-party app if you don't want to. But finding the time that works best and sticking with that. I see drops in engagement when I go outside of my time frame. I don't pre-schedule anything. I think, I don't know why. I feel like it'd probably be easier for me, but I keep a lot of content on my phone, and I'll just, put it out there each day. I post daily. I post every day, and I try to post right around noon, because that's when I tend to see the best results. But it's not always perfect. And like I said, if I go a whole week and I'm posting all over the place at, 9 in the morning and then 5 o'clock at night, like I do see engagement drops, because it's telling me like this is when you're supposed to be posting. So finding the time, figuring out your schedule, if that's going to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then take the weekend off. You can do that. Being consistent, use Reels. As much as I hated starting them, figure out the types of videos that are easy to make. So I have like 3 different styles of videos. I have like the packing order videos that I make, because those are pretty easy. I got to do it anyway. So I have it top down in right over my pack up space that I can just stick my phone in there and hit go, crocheting videos, which you guys can do a lot of those. You could showcase all the different weights of yarn and just show you working with the rings. And then the other one is, for me, is outfit change videos, because I make all my finished products and designs.
I love her.
So doing those, and bulk creation of content. So taking a whole day and just creating a whole bunch of content that sits on your phone waiting to be posted. Right. Saving old content that took a long time to make. If you've got videos that you really love, save them on your phone, use them in 6 months. Nobody's going to remember that you shared it 6 months ago. Exactly. So saving your content, which I made the mistake of deleting everything after I posted. I deleted it to get it off my phone, which was a big mistake. And now I save it if it took me a long time to make. I'm not going to save just videos of me crocheting, because I can redo that anytime with new yarn. But so bulk creation of content, to just have it ready to go, makes it easier to stay consistent. The other thing that I've noticed personally is, if you are not interacting with anyone else on Instagram, I feel like you get punished for it. So you need to be commenting on your followers' posts. You need to spend a little bit of time, even if it's every couple of days, go through your feed, comment on people's stuff, share stuff to your stories from other people. Respond to your comments, please. Like, this is anyone who has an Instagram account. If someone is commenting on your stuff and taking that time, even if you only respond with emojis, like if they respond with hearts, you can respond with hearts. But you know,
that's what I do for sure.
And like, I think you're totally right about that. When we first started the Fyberring account, like we had to grow. Well, we're almost at 800 followers now, and that's just since December, January.
No, I think we started the Fyberring account when we were about to launch the Kickstarter. So it would have been like end of February, beginning of March that we started the Fyberring account.
So like only a couple months, right? And that, you're totally right. Like commenting, even people who I like to read down comments on posts that are really interesting to me. And so when you see someone's name and you're like, oh, they said this, and then you can click, like, it just, the engagement is so important.
Yeah, she does the majority of our engagement and responding to messages.
I actually, at the beginning, I commented so much under the Fyberring account. One day, I like commented like 30 or 40 times on other people's posts, and they got banned.
It happened to me too. Yep. And
I was trying not to like word it like a spam post, but it was kind of like that. And I guess I learned my lesson. But
yeah, too much of the same style, they can get you, and commenting too quickly, which I've gotten in trouble. And sometimes it's just, if a video goes viral in any sense, you know, sometimes you don't have time to go back and respond until later, and you do have to be careful because they'll get you. And I found that it's worse if you are responding to comments on a desktop, they will get you faster. They want you on the app. So if you're on the app, you have a little more wiggle room to responding to things a little more quickly. But I have found that the desktop version, you'll get in trouble a lot faster if you're commenting on things quickly, even if it's not spam. You know, it's just the number of comments in a certain time frame that they'll get you for. But, you know, I think when it comes to growth, it really, really does come down to consistency. Some of it is content that people will engage with, you know. I mean, I'm not too stuck on that. I'm not very good at giving advice. You know, I think I just like to have fun with the videos, and I do think that's enough. But the other thing that I will tell you, pre-pandemic, I did not show my face on my social media account, which is kind of hard to believe now, like looking at because it's all me now. But I really believe that is what allowed me to jump so quickly, is because all of a sudden people knew who I was. They knew what I looked like. They knew what I sounded like, because I started going live or doing videos where you could hear my voice. And that connection is key. So if they have nothing to connect with, that is more difficult until your brand really blows up. Like Furls doesn't have to show anybody's face, because Furls is a big brand, and they can just show their hooks, and you know. But I love what Furls does with asking random questions. So like you guys could do that with just getting to know your audience and asking questions that have nothing to do with a Fyberring, but you can just ask people. You've got your taco rings, ask them, you know, tacos or nachos. Like, what do you know, if you had to choose. And so, but that is where asking questions gets a lot of engagement. Starting your post off with a question is a great way to get more engagement on your posts. And those are the big three for me. So
thank you. That's amazing. Yeah. And some of them I just don't really think about, or I take them for granted, like the consistency of posting. Like I'm trying to do the quality over quantity, but at this point, maybe just to build the follower base a little bit more, just pump them out a little bit more.
Yeah.
To keep people seeing our name every single day or a couple times every week. You're right.
It's hard because I'm the one. I'm the crocheter, but I'm also the creator, right? So it's like I don't spend my days crocheting like I used to anymore. So it's like making the time to do that, like it's hard.
Something that you guys could do now. I don't know if this would work or not, but if you guys do you guys have Lightroom, the Lightroom app?
I haven't downloaded it. Haven't used it.
If you guys get the Lightroom app and you pay, I paid for the year. It's not expensive at all. It's like maybe $4 to $7 a month. And I just paid up front for the full year, because you get a terabyte of storage. And what you guys can do, if you guys share the account, now I don't know if it'll let you do this or not, but if you guys were to share the account, both have the app on your phone and both be logged in with that paid account, then you could do your all of your stuff on your phone, upload it to Lightroom, so you can do videos and photos, and then you'd be able to access it for your social media.
Right.
And it's so easy to download, and you have so much storage space. You could get it off your phone into the app, and then just you would be able to then download it and post to social media instead of you guys having to figure out, you know, do you need to be there filming? She could create the content and you'd be able to post it. So that might work for you guys.
Thank you. Suggestion too. We'll look into it.
Bonjour, Lemonine. Comment ça va? Sorry, I just like somebody in the comment just said bonjour. So.
Yeah, we do. We get a lot of, I mean, there's a lot of worldwide people that join. It may only be a few, but I see a lot of hello from Spain and hello from lots of other countries, and I think it's amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. So that's, speaking of worldwide, you guys ship worldwide. Where's the coolest place that you've shipped so far?
That's a tough one. I need a map of where I've shipped because I do ship a lot to the UK. I ship a lot to Canada. I do believe I've shipped to Australia. Something super interesting, Germany updated their shipping things where, like, on my Etsy, I can't ship to Germany because I'd have to register like my packing materials or something weird or face like $10,000 fine. So I had to stop shipping to Germany. But if you drop ship to Germany, so I sell merchandise through Printful on my Etsy shop, and Printful handles that. So I had an order to Germany, and I was going to have to cancel it, and then I looked up, and Printful was like, oh no, we handle it. It's all about who is shipping the actual item. So that was really nice to know that I can still ship at least, you know, drop ship merchandise to Germany. I was trying to think where else. I know we've had some cool ones, but off the top of my head, I can't remember. What about you guys?
I actually just ordered, like, you know, like the little travel maps that you're supposed to scratch off. I actually just ordered one because I want to keep track of that. But yeah, I know for a fact I've shipped to Spain, we've shipped to Germany. Before the war, I've shipped to Ukraine. But I don't know, Singapore. And there was like this tiny, tiny little African country. I cannot remember what it was, but it's like, I have no idea what this country is.
That's amazing.
And so, like, I had to look at it on the map, and yeah, it was really cool.
So yeah, like I said, the craft community is large
and
it's worldwide, which is really cool to offer a business that's worldwide, because none of my other businesses have been that, and this is really fun.
Yeah. I do remember one story, it came up when you were talking, that I had someone, now my stickers, I'm able to ship more easily worldwide because I can just do an international stamp.
Yeah.
And I had an order from Japan, and when I pulled up the order in Etsy, the address was like written in Japanese. And I was like, I can't write that out. You know, like I can't write in Japanese on my, and so I had to, I think they messaged me with an English version, and then I had to go into Etsy community forums and ask if anyone had, just to make sure I got it correct in the formatting of writing it out. And I had someone send me a personal message and said, I just want to say thank you so much for even being willing to ship to Japan. And here is how you take this address and put it onto there. And it did, and it got there. And I mean, I don't know, I have a little thank you note in there. I don't know if they could read the thank you note, but it was just such a cool, you know, having that community, even on Etsy, of the sellers, you know, helping each other out. And, but I did want to ask before we go, what has the community meant to your business?
Well, everything. Everything. Like the fact that, well, we were praying and hoping that we would make the minimum on our Kickstarter just so we could at least have some funds to work with, and our minimum amount wasn't even going to be enough to cover what we really needed. We knew we would have to pull some more money from our own pockets, or
like from the sales,
from our website or something, to cover some more of our business expenses. So we were like, if we get the minimum from our Kickstarter, we would be thankful.
And we went over by $2,000.
We went over it, and we were not expecting that. That was incredible. Like, I don't think people understand how much that means to us, because it means we're not pulling money out of our own family's pockets to fund our business that is just starting up. It means that you get a Fyberring and you
Yep.
are supporting our business at the same time. Like, it's incredible. So without that, and I will credit Marge for the idea of the Kickstarter. That was totally her idea, because I was trying other methods. I was thinking, well, maybe bank loan, maybe funding grants and stuff like that. And the Kickstarter, I like it a lot better because it's people. Like, people are contributing to our business. They're becoming members of our community with us. And it was just so much more meaningful and so much more beautiful. And the people who are giving to us, in essence, are benefiting. Whereas a bank, I mean, it's such a cold transaction. It's not meaningful at all.
Yep.
It's just a tool.
And you owe more
all
back. I mean, any kind of loan that you look into is going to set yourself up to be underwater if you're not careful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we are just really thankful that people believed in us and wanted to support us, even people who aren't crafters. I'm sure there were donations from people that weren't even crafters, and we really
there definitely
that.
was. Like,
There were,
that was really fun going through afterwards, because I mean, after the Kickstarter finished, it's like you get to send out surveys, and then they get to tell you what size they want or whatever. And so going through the people who supported us, there was a good 20 people who donated more than like the $5 just because, I'm just donating money
because we
believe in your product, even though they
beautiful.
they didn't knit or crochet or need a Fyberring.
Yeah.
And then there were so many people who were like, I need 7 Fyberrings. Actually, there was only 3 people who were like more than 5 Fyberring. But like, I mean, they just kept adding them on to their thing, and they got them in different sizes because they're sharing them with all of their friends.
Yep.
Right?
Awesome.
They bundled that,
amazing.
so they're only paying 1 shipping, which was amazing for them and fantastic for us.
Yep.
So we really, really appreciate the community, and we cannot say thank you guys enough for everything that the community has done for us. Like, it's
and we're hoping that there's a point in the business when we can start to give back again.
Yeah.
I mean, excess funds are fun because you're like, oh, you know, we can make more money for ourselves, but really we don't need to be greedy either. We would hope that when our business gets large enough, there's a time when we can be donating some of that back as well to different charities or causes, or supporting other businesses who are starting up. We might even be able to just go onto someone's random Kickstarter, hopefully a woman-led entrepreneur business, and give back a little bit. So your guys' giving allows us to be in a place where we can give as well. So yeah.
Awesome. I think that's the perfect answer. I mean, it's true. The community, it's kind of mind-blowing how supportive. And I think that it's all because we all know what it takes. Like, anyone in the crafting community knows what it means to create something that's handmade, and knows what the time that goes into it, and knows, you know, when you're trying to create something that solves a problem, that even if it's not solving their problem, it's solving someone else's problem, and within the crafting community. And I think they know that if we support this, then that's going to potentially inspire other people to create more problem solving items for the crafting community that are going to be helpful. So I think it's amazing, and I would love to reconnect with you guys maybe in a couple of months. I'm trying to figure out a way to start bringing people back after a certain amount of time, so that, you know, we can talk about progress, and we can talk about new things, and where, you know, your business is going and how things have been. So I think that would be really fun.
We do have some new things coming.
Okay.
So we can't say yet what it is. But we've got some new ideas that are in the process of getting worked through and tested. And so we'd love to come back and be like, hey, this is what we were hinting at last time.
And there, and to, well, besides our actual branding, which we're still working out, where we were just talking about this before we started the live video, we need to come up with our fun logo and trademarking yet, which, you know what, we're being really picky about it because we want it just right, and it's really hard to make a logo that is like, and captures everything that you want, the essence of what you want people to see and represent yourself for. So besides the branding, which we will have to release, you'll probably, by the next time we talk, hopefully we're branded well the way we want to. But if you can believe it or not, there are different ways to make a Fyberring with slightly different functions, and it's very fun to see Marge getting creative with that.
That's awesome. I'm
They're
super
really
excited
tough.
to see.
That was a good hint.
Was that too much?
Yeah.
Was that
a good hint.
So I think that still leaves the door wide open on the brain. So,
Okay. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you guys so much for coming on and taking time out of your day to join me for this. I can't wait to see what you do for the DIY hook challenge. I will plug that really quick and let you guys know. I have a few people. I want to make sure people know you only have a few more days to order your hook, but you have the whole month of June to decorate. So I don't want people to think that you only have until the end of May to buy and decorate your hook. You just have to buy your hook by the end of this month, and those are still available in our Etsy shop, and you have the whole month of June to decorate it however you like, and then at the end of June, you'll submit the photos of your finished hook, and that's when we'll do our judging process and choose some winners. But we are going to have mid challenge giveaways this year for our participants, so there's going to be more ways to potentially win some fun prizes where it's not just whoever wins the grand prizes. So we wanted to add that in this year. We think that'll be a lot of fun.
You're giving back, exactly. Like, and that's kind of what we wanted to do, right? Like, I love doing giveaways.
Yeah, we just wanted it to be, we wanted to find a way to engage the community in a different way with the DIY challenge. And obviously we have to pay. That's why we can't give the hooks out for free. But we feel like we've kept it at $15 for the past 3 years for that basic intro hook. And if we can keep it at that rate, I feel like that allows, you know, more people to be, the challenge is more accessible being $15 for that hook. You know, and, you know, we were like, even if we don't make a profit after all is said and done, this is worth it because it's our community. Like, this is for everyone to get involved, do something creative, you know, engage with each other, you know, and just have a good time and do something outside of just your normal craft.
Maybe I should give it to you to paint and do something with.
So there you go.
Did you not hear me at the beginning of the video? I'm running 2 businesses here. I don't have the time for myself.
I don't have the time either. I'm making all the fiber rings for the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
There was like over 250 rings I have to make for the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Started?
I've started.
Oh yeah, some of them have been sent out. Yeah, somebody was saying there in the comments a little while ago, they're like, I'm still waiting for mine, and you know what? Great. Thank you so much for being patient.
Yeah.
It's coming. Trust me.
coming.
It'll worth it. Worth the wait. So
awesome. Well, thank you guys again, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your Friday, an amazing weekend. We will catch back up. If you guys will stay in touch with me, if you have a point where you have a big announcement that you want to make and you want to come on and talk about progress and updates, just keep in touch with me. And let's talk about a trade, because I would love to maybe trade a ring for a hook.
I was going to say that. It's like, I was going to like message you afterwards and be like, so do you want to try a fiber ring?
Yes. So shoot me a message. We're going to stay in touch for sure. If you need anything, let me know. I'm going to send you to, I have a lot of videos and blog posts that are all about social media, that just from what I've learned. So if that you can find that helpful at all, I'll send you that. And we're going to stay in touch. So, and thanks to everyone who joined us live. If you're watching the replay, thank you too. And if you came in late, this will be available on the Etsy shop. I mean, Etsy. This will be available to watch on Instagram as soon as this is over. And you can also find it on YouTube. So I have a full playlist of all, I think this is episode like 53. So all of those episodes are over on YouTube. So you can discover new amazing people in the fiber community.
Awesome. Well, make sure you tag me. I'm also on YouTube under Margeless Creations. So
send me that. Be sure to send me that in a message, and I'll be sure to tag you. Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yes. Yes. You too. You too. And I hope, like I said, everybody have a great weekend, and I'll see you guys next Friday.
Sounds good.
Bye, guys. Bye-bye.